All right, legends, we are live. Let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me. We've got a nice little pump here throughout the last few hours, almost hitting $88,000. Is this pump sustainable? Are we going to go to much higher levels? Now, I would like to ask the community. Let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me, legends. Make sure to destroy the like button if you do enjoy the content, the technical analysis, the education. Let's go right away through the comment section. Say hello to the beautiful community. Okay, then we're going to focus on the technical analysis. Is this pump legit? I want to know your opinion down below in the comment section, guys. Let's LFG, right? LFG in the comment section. Let's go. I want to ask on a poll first of all before we continue through the technical analysis. All right, just I want to make you aware about this price action to the upside. Today is a public holiday in many countries around the world, right? Is this pump legit? Is there enough volume? Can we continue to the upside? All right, we're going to be talking about a few things. All right, we need to be a little bit cautious with this pump. All right, I know, basic terms, technical analysis. We broke the trend line, right? We are breaking the structure. Moon mission right now. It doesn't look that great, okay? I want to explain why it does not look that great. This pump right over here, we want to be very, very cautious, stay very aware of the situation with this pump based on local price action, okay? Most importantly, as we do on the streams, all right, is focus on what has happened locally throughout the last few weeks. This price action, is it bullish? Let's ask here to the community, right? Is this move up legit for Bitcoin, guys? Let me know right away in the poll. Yes, we are going much higher. Yes or no? Let me know right away, guys. Yes or no is going to be the answer. Let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. Start the poll. Is this pump legit, guys? And we are going to break out. We're breaking out. We're going to much higher levels. Let me know on the poll as you are destroying that like button. We've got 200 people watching the stream right away. Is this pump legit? Yes, no. Let me know your thoughts right away on the poll. And then let me just quickly go through the comment section, say hello to the beautiful community. And we're going to focus right away on the TA, guys. Okay, we need to focus on this little pump that we got today. Do we see price action forming a bit of a flag, continuing to the upside, very, very bullish? Or do we need to be aware of the situation, right? Considering the local market structure, we've got several scenarios looking at Elliot wave theory, lots of levels of confluence to the upside, fib levels, very important Fibonacci levels that I want to talk about as well. And we will look at the internal possible setups, right? Let's go. No, it's not legit, says Josh. Pump is not legit. Let's go through comment section. Aditya, my man. Much love to you. Much love. East or West, Andy is the best. Let's go, my man. Much love to you. Milan. Let's go, baby. 92K. 92K. Possible target. Possible target that we could get to 92K. We'll be going through the local price action, most importantly, guys, to try and detect, the corrective moves, the impulsive moves. Is it legit, right? We did sweep up quite a lot of liquidity. I think most of the people were expecting a movement down below $83,000, right? We did know that, there was a high chance that we were going to claim $86,500. We were looking at this range to continue, maybe claim the lows and then go up. We just came up directly, right? We just continued the range and get a movement to the upside. This is the kind of classic trappy area where you think it's going to roll down. And yeah, you basically got this nice little pump. So now the question is, how far can this pump go, right? Is it already going to be hitting resistance where we at? Can we go to 90K, hit the highs right there, claim some more liquidity? Because there is more liquidity to the upside, all right? Above $88,000, heading to $90,000. There is quite a bit of liquidity. Would it make sense to get up there with the technical analysis, right, that we're going to provide? Hello, everybody. Much love to everyone. Hey, Andy. Promise. Shashu. Josh. Not legit. Pump. Austin. How are you doing? Aditya. Karim. Daniel Singleton, good afternoon, my man. Much love to you. Dump and pump coming now. Bitcoin, please. Yes, we're going to focus on Bitcoin. Andy, why you start just as US begins trading? Would be nicer to start earlier so we're ready when it starts in US. Well, today, I think the markets are closed today, right? If I'm not mistaken. Or are they open? They were closed on Friday. I think they're probably open today. Yes, correct. They are open today. Right. I will be bullish after a retest. Okay. Who knows anymore? Well, we can do the technical analysis, right? We can do the technical analysis. We do know high probability movements that could happen, okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try and focus on, finding what could happen next here on the stream, okay? So make sure to stick around. Markets are open today, yes. Markets are opened. More wrecked, please. If we do pump to $90,000 or $95,000, the spot bags are going to be they are going to appreciate that nice pump, right, to $90,000, $100,000, right? It would be nice. I don't think we're going to reach to these levels, but it would be nice, obviously, for the people that are invested in Bitcoin, right? The people that do have Bitcoin in their portfolio. They will be relieved with that relief rally, right, or the legit rally. So let's consider a little bit of the higher time frame, okay? Higher time frame. We do understand that we have been downtrending, of course, from all-time high, very aggressive move down. We are very much aware on higher time frame that we are ready for a reversal, right? We are ready for a reversal. Either it's a fake pump or a relief pump. We're going to head to $95,000, $100,000, claiming the low or without claiming the low. The probabilities on the higher time frame are bullish. They are bullish. It means that we are slowing down this corrective move to the downside because it is looking quite corrective. Most bearish case scenario is that you are forming a contracting move. You form a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get the ABC, get everybody bullish and form a lower high and then come down. Regardless of what scenario happens here, either all of this being a complex WXY or a contracting move, the reversal to $95,000, $100,000, right? A big bounce to get maybe people very optimistic and very bullish is kind of imminent, right? The probabilities from this range that we formed the last few weeks, we understood on the higher time frame, regardless taking out the low or not, right? All of this is getting choppy, and the reversal with taking out the lows or not is very, very likely. Of course, on lower time frames, we can be bearish, we can be bullish, we can flip-flop, right? Because depending on what happens on the lower time frames, we look for intraday scalp shorts, scalp longs, right? This is bullish, this is bearish, right? You can be very, very flip-floppy on the lower time frames because we focus on intraday setups, right? Movements of $1,000, $2,000 in, out, ready, right? Higher time frame, the reversal, is very much the highest scenario, right? Instead of a big breakdown, the reversal is highly likely. Now we want to focus on the lower time frames. This is where we have the magic. This is where we realize, what could happen next, right? What are the scenarios that we're looking at? So we need to zoom in on the 15-minute, 30-minute time frame and really analyze this uptrend, this local situation. Does this look incredibly bullish? Is it usual to get this kind of retracement, this kind of sideways momentum to get an explosive move up, right? Continue to the upside very aggressively with this kind of pullback, right? When you have a decent move up from $74,000 all the way up to $86,000, is it normal to get this kind of a retracement and absolutely skyrocket to much higher prices? Well, the easy answer here is no. This is not common. This is very uncommon to see such a shallow sideways pullback to get an explosive breakout continuation, right? Either in your wave 3, right? You get more explosive movements to the upside. Unlikely scenario, okay? So we need to be very aware of this price action that we are developing to the upside, right? because a wave 3 is highly unlikely. The main reason why is because of the shallow pullback. For this to be a wave 1 and a wave 2, retracing all the way to the 0.236 Fibonacci from the movement is extremely rare to have a wave 3. So we want to be a little bit cautious with this kind of price action, right? We want to be a little bit cautious on the momentum to the upside. What scenarios do we have? Taking a look at the technical analysis, right? If this were to be a bullish case scenario, contracting move to the upside, you formed a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very nice. You want to see this either as your B wave or either as your second wave, right? Where you have the sideways corrective structure. Very complex. There's many ways in counting this, but you could say you have a flat right over here. You have the complex WXY in your B wave, right? On your X wave, and then a very shallow zigzag here. This was very shallow. WXY, is this possible? And now we're having a new wave to the upside. Absolutely, we got the breakout. It looks very impulsive. So is it possible that, we do correct down in a wave 1, wave 2, and then we get continuation to the upside? And you have to say it's possible, right? Because all of this is one wave up. All of this, you can count it as another wave. And now you're developing a new fresh wave to the upside. Very much a possibility, right? You moved out here pretty nicely, pretty explosive. So could we be in the formation of a new wave to the upside? Or is this a trap? Is it a trap and we are still inside of this being a corrective structure? And that is what I want to talk about in this live stream, legends, okay? Because there is also that possibility that we do have an ABC flat formation here. It is very, very possible. We are at the B wave targets. Now, what is interesting about this is that we've had an ABC flat in your A wave, very possible. And now you have your zigzag move to the upside in your B wave. What is very interesting about this is that your B wave, all right, inside of your flat, the very common target is the 1236 to the 1382 extension, taken from your A wave high to the low of your A wave, and we get the Fibonacci extension. We are basically stopping at the 1236, 1382 zone. This is your common area for an expanding flat. And this is where the price is stopping right now. So it's like, interesting. We're going to focus on the local time frame as well, right? We're going to focus because you got this flat here and you got this zigzag. You got a 3-wave structure for the moment counting from this low. So could it be possible that this is actually going to find resistance in this area and start moving to the downside? I know for the bulls, it's not going to be looking interesting. They're like, yeah, no, we're going up, right? We're pumping, we're breaking. Stop talking about a possible reversal because we are pumping, right? The price is looking bullish. Yeah, without a doubt. We have moved up here very nicely. Now, most importantly, we need to focus on the local time frame. How did we get up there? And is there room for some more movements to the upside? Considering the local levels of support and the levels of resistance, analyzing the waves here locally. What is interesting about this, if it were to find resistance in this zone, right, we're not going to break out successfully from the highs, is when we do zoom out, what bearish case scenarios do we have? Taking a look at Fibonacci retracement, okay, let's go to the 4-hourly time frame. Is it possible, all right, for a larger contracting move to the downside, right? Let's go right away and look at the different scenarios. This would be a finished one right over here, which I don't like too much. This would end up being bearish for the next coming weeks. So you get that nice movement to the upside, but then it finds a resistance at $95,000 or $100,000, and then you roll back down. This would be a bearish move down, and you're looking for a relief rally bounce. It's one of the scenarios that is possible. Another scenario is that you are still forming here a contracting move. to the downside, right? Diagonal. Right over here, you have your zigzag. You have your zigzag move up in your wave 2, another zigzag move down here in your wave 3. And now you're forming this one right over here in your wave 4 to then start crumbling down in the next coming weeks to revisit $74,000. Very much a possibility as well, right? I mean, this would be the area where you would be finding resistance, right? This is literally the zone where you would be wanting to top out 88, 89K levels, a bit of choppiness, and then the rollover. Now, for this scenario, you would be looking at this right over here. You formed a double zigzag move to the upside, right? Very disturbing, this price action, because there's lots of overlap. You know, the bullish case is a contracting move, and the bearish case would be a double zigzag. When you do zoom in on the lower time frames, you need to consider this is overextending ever so slightly with timing, but it's still inside of the possibility of the zone, right? You got your zigzag move up, your corrected move, and then a larger zigzag here to the upside, heading to $88,000, $89,000, which is totally fine, and then reversing down. We don't like talking about the bearish case, right? Especially when people are heavily invested in Bitcoin, right? Do we have, you know, that being a possibility? Well, taking into consideration this contracting move to the downside, when you get your wave 2, possible wave 2 here with this bounce, to the end of the wave 3, where we at right now is the golden pocket. This is also, where we're getting resistance, right? The golden pocket here from this pivot high to the pivot low of the last few weeks at $74,000. This movement to the downside, if we do consider it a wave 3, then your wave 4 right now is at the golden pocket. Golden pocket right over here in between 87.3 and 87.9. This is where the price has stopped today, right? We're ranging here ever so slightly. So there is resistance. What is curious, not also the golden pocket. We zoom in, and if we do consider this being a WXY, what is very interesting when we get the Fibonacci extension from the 74,400 low to the top of your W, you got your zigzag move, and then the corrective structure here in your X. And then we look at the Fibonacci extension, we reverse it. We are hitting the 1-to-1 extension, meaning that your wave W right over here is the same length as your wave Y. It's a 1-to-1 extension. We love these 1-to-1 extension movements because, you know, it's a target zone. So you're like, okay, we're hitting 1-to-1 extension for the bearish case scenario. Really, you're looking at this area to be topping out. Your second target zone is 1236 Fibonacci, which is 89,600. So could there be an extra squeeze up there? Could it squeeze up there before rolling down? Absolutely. Why not? But what is curious about this 1-to-1 extension is that we are at the golden pocket, right? If we consider this bearish case, right? We get wave 2 to your wave 3, golden pocket, 1-to-1 extension of this double zigzag WXY. Yeah, there's a lot of confluence, right? The price is feeling the pressure at this Fibonacci resistance zone. Golden pocket, 1-to-1 extension if we do consider this entire move up of April a corrective structure, right? This is the thing when you form contracting diagonals, they can be very tricky. You have the potential of looking at, a double zigzag, a WXY, and you also have the possibility of looking at the bullish case scenario, which we're going to talk about right now. So there is Fibonacci resistance here, right? This is your last lower high as well from the downtrend. You got lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low over here. The last lower high is this one. So that would be a good sign of strength getting above the last lower high, which is $89,000, right? Would be like, this is actually breaking structure. It's breaking structure and it looks pretty damn good. So we are finding resistance, Fibonacci resistance, when we consider the bearish case. This is a zigzag move down. Could it be a wave 3? Starting from here down to here. You're hitting the golden pocket and the price is feeling the resistance today from the golden pocket of this movement down. We also have the one-to-one extension if we are considering all of this a corrective structure, right? We also have the one-to-one extension of the WXY. You know, there's Fibonacci resistance here and the price is feeling it today. Okay, let's talk about the bullish case, right? This is a very interesting area to you know that the price is really feeling that resistance. What would be the massive bullish case? Bullish case, the only thing that we have here to count for the massive bullish case scenario, as mentioned, is this wave up, right? This has to be some kind of a bullish structure if we do wish or we believe that a reversal is going to happen very explosively. Fundamentally, it's looking pretty damn good. We do have the M2 global money supply, right? Skyrocketing. So, you know, there's more liquidity. We do have the dollar index, which is collapsing. We always know that the dollar index going down, the DXY, this has to be bullish for Bitcoin, right? This is something very bullish. It's losing value. The dollar index is going down. So fundamentally, it's looking good for Bitcoin, right? But on the charts, you know, there are a few things that we are in doubt. Gold is going through the roof. Whoever's bought gold in the last few years is actually doing very, very good. I bought some gold in 2019, some physical gold. And yeah, it's up over 2x, which is, it's just going through the roof. It's going parabolic. Let's talk about the price of Bitcoin right now. Considering the bullish case, right? I want to be bullish, guys. I want to be very bullish on Bitcoin. My portfolio would be very happy if we do get massive continuation to the upside. But as an intraday trader and a technical analyst, I realize that to get massive bullish continuation, there is one big main problem. And the main problem is the retracement that we got from the pump that we created the last few weeks. Yeah, very nice movement to the upside. I would be more bullish if we would have retraced down to the 50% golden pocket, at least the 382 Fibonacci. Then I would say, guys, let's go to $100,000, right? Let's see if this movement to the upside is going to be impulsive and we just skyrocket, right? We're maybe looking for a wave 3 and we head to much higher levels. There is a big problem with this, to be bullish with massive continuation to the upside here. It's a very big problem because it is extremely rare to see a wave 2 in a range like this that only retraces to the 236 Fibonacci on any chart, Okay, not only Bitcoin, on any chart. If you consider this a wave 2, to get big continuation up in the next coming days and weeks, you can take a look at the history of many charts, guys. It is extremely rare. It does happen, but it's very rare. And as this is rare, you need to consider the probabilities of really shooting up here to 95K, if 100K, right, in the next 1 to 2 weeks. It's unlikely. Very, very unlikely. So the bullish case scenario is not looking too great for big explosive breakouts, right? Could we hit 88K, 89K? Absolutely, yes. We'll get into that now in the next coming minutes. But it's just considering the higher time frame, okay? The big continuation up from this range. Okay, unlikely scenario. So we want to be very, very cautious with the local resistance and how we move up here very locally. Considering that bullish case scenario, which the only one we have is the ascending contracting move. This is the only bullish case scenario that we have to consider continuation to the upside. Like I said, there's a big problem. We retrace to the 236 Fibonacci. So to look for a wave 3 here, not in my TA, not in my TA. Now, the other scenario that I mentioned looks very interesting. That would be an ABC flat. This does look extremely interesting. Most common flat, right, would be the expanding flat that would be coming all the way down to the 1.618 extension or the 1.618 expansion. What expansion? You got your Fibonacci retracement tool, and from your A wave here, you get Fibonacci retracement from the bottom to the high of your A wave, and your 1.618 expansion is also common for an expanding flat, right? Not only the 1.618 extension. So yeah, it looks pretty damn interesting for the price to maybe form here an ABC flat, right? It's one of the scenarios that looks very, very interesting. Okay, we consider this, this, and this, and we'll just change this into orange. And this would be looking very good. This would be looking very good to consider this your wave 1, then this your wave 2, forming a flat. Boom, 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 right? You claim liquidity above $86,500. Tick, right? That's happened. We left a lot of liquidity below 83K, right? There is a lot right there. Would be kind of nice, right? We've seen this kind of price action before. Sweep up the highs very aggressively. Boop, 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 boop. Get everybody very bullish. And then come down to sweep up the lows of last week below $83,000. Something that we want to consider, right? Very much a possibility. So if we did not have the ABC flat scenario, okay, the bullish case would be a finished sideways WXY. Would be extremely rare to get big breakouts here, big movements. Very shallow pullback for a wave 2. The other interesting scenario, as mentioned, is the WXY here, which could actually push to ever so slightly higher levels, right? You could even go to the 1236 Fibonacci extension. Taking your W wave to your X wave. Most common targets for your double zigzag, 1-to-1 to the 1236. So the first target has been hit today at 87.6K. That's where we are getting the resistance. This is taking into consideration this extension, right? This is the extension right over here to consider all of this a corrective structure. So the resistance is there, right? You know, you cannot make this up. The resistance is on the Fibonacci numbers, 1-to-1 extension. If we were to break out from the highs, which we're going to focus on the local time frame, we're going to be analyzing, you know, where the local intraday trading setups for shorts or longs, it doesn't matter. It's intraday. It's looking at the waves, either corrective or impulsive. Shorts, longs, movements of $1,000, right? On average, maybe 2,000-3,000. We're going to focus very, very locally now in the next coming minutes, guys. So make sure to stay tuned. You know, the most bullish case scenario for this one is actually reaching 1236, $89,800. You know, get that movement here to the upside. And then this would be an interesting spot to see the rejection. But what is important is how we moved up there, right? How we moved up from this range. Because if all of this is a wave, and all of this is a wave, we need to start considering the lows of the range to really analyze how we moved up from, you know, did we move up from here? Was this the low and this is a wave? Or did we move up from here? Is this the wave right over here? Right? So you need to be, very, very selective on where the wave starts. If the wave started from here, for the moment, we got a 3-wave structure. And this is why you consider I consider the flat. If we consider this movement to the upside, starting here from last Wednesday, for the moment, it's a 3-wave move. And if you take a look at the price action that's happened a few days before, you had a flat. So if you had a flat here and you move in a three-wave structure to the upside, you need to consider the danger of the flat. You just need to consider it, right? Not that it has to happen. You're hitting the major targets for the B wave, which is the 1236, 1382 extension. That's where you're finding the resistance. So yeah, it's definitely a possibility, right? More interesting is, what if we finished this correction right over here, right? What if we, you know, this was the WXY, you've on the flat here, your complex correction, and a very, very shallow zigzag here. I mean, I wouldn't like to see this as, you know, yesterday we did a video update speculating on, you know, we could finish in a triangle here and then move up. We can finish in a flat and then move up. We can finish in a zigzag and then move up on yesterday's video. Now, yeah, when we do zoom in throughout the top here, it formed a zigzag, you know, but this is, it is really very, very shallow because we didn't even hit the minimum common target of a WXY, which would be the 0618. We were almost hitting it, almost hit the 1618, the 0618, sorry. We formed a very, very shallow zigzag in timing as well. When you compare the timing between the rest of the waves, you know, regardless, yesterday we explained on the video update, I hope you enjoyed, guys. If you didn't watch it, make sure to do so, that there was high probability in taking out 86,500. Not only because of the liquidity, we did have lots of liquidity here, but based on if this were to be the end, okay, of the movement to the upside, the highs, right? And you're looking for the price to reverse, the bears had a problem here. If this is the start of your wave to the downside, all of this is getting extremely long compared to your initial move down, right? If you're considering this the start of an impulse and then this a lower high, there is a big problem here, and that is timing. The time is overextended for a wave 2. So if that does happen, you need to consider all of this still part of a wave. And I'm even still considering this movement up as still part of a, you know, of a wave, which is very, very possible. And that would be this possible flat, right? When we do take a look at the latest move to the upside, which is what has been very interesting for me to analyze today, okay, we had the lows yesterday at $84,000. How did the price move up? How are we moving up? We got a nice explosive move here in the middle, which we always want to consider as a wave 3, right? We always consider the biggest move as a wave 3 or a wave C, right? So that is my question right now, okay? And why I would be interested if we do take out the highs for the price to get exhausted, for the price to maybe break out. Yes, that is fine. Analyze the intraday waves to realize that it could reverse, because we could be looking at a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the price moves to the downside, right? Very, very possible, right? This is what becomes very, very interesting. When you have such an explosive wave like this, what you need to realize that to mirror a wave like this over here is extremely unlikely. It might happen, but what is going to be very interesting is analyzing the movement to the upside as we take out the highs. And that's what we're going to do here with this local price action. When you do take a look at the corrective move that we had, you do know that looking at this price action down right over here, and this retracement is not too bearish, right? It's not too bearish. If you're going to start a major impulsive move down, you want to see that 5-wave move down, correction, right? And then continuation down. When you have this kind of retracement with this very 3-wave move, you realize that there is still a high chance that you take out the highs, okay? So another high is very much a high probability at this moment, right? But what I'm interested is realizing when you have this nice movement to the upside, potentially 1, 2, 1, 2, and then a third wave, right? 4, 5, you're possibly looking at another 4, 5. Why? When we analyze the lows from yesterday, movement up, corrective move, movement up, corrective move, very strong movement up. We're already mapping this as a potential wave 3. Your 4, your 5, and possibly another 4 and 5 right over here. Preferably you don't get below that 4th wave, but regardless, this would be your 3rd wave, right? Possibly. All of this is your 3rd wave. So getting above this area right now, I do realize that a movement like this from here is highly unlikely, right? It's going to be much less than a movement like this. Very unlikely that you mirror such an explosive move right over here. That's when you need to consider that this, regardless of being very bullish, okay, regardless of being very bullish, what you're looking at here is maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? Now the question is, where is that 5th wave going to finish? Where is the 5th wave going to finish? Could it double top? Right? Could we be forming a small little contracting move to the upside in the next coming hours for that 5th wave, and then we get a large move down? That is what we want to focus here very, very carefully, guys, because this is what we do. We look at the possible intraday trading setups, right? The local, very local price action. For the bearish case, considering that ABC flat, right? Considering this being a possibility, right? That you know would be interesting to see the highs being taken. In your C wave, you know, you do want to see an impulse. You do want to see a pretty strong impulse, right? That's what we're getting. We're getting that strong impulse. So we got the 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to complete your 3rd wave. You got a decent correction down right over here. We are considering this a correction because of this bounce. We've got a pretty decent bounce. So all of this does look very 4 wavy, okay? When we get Fibonacci retracement from the lows of your 2nd wave, right, we could consider this low right over here. These lows, a bit of a triangle formation. You know, you are retracing almost to the 382 Fibonacci, right? Your wave 4s, you know, your common target is in between 236 and your 50%, right? So you would expect this movement down to find support and take out the highs, right? Take out the highs. Locally, this is the important movement right now. It does look like we're going to just about take out the highs right over here. And we do have a possibility of another double 1, 2 scenario. There is a chance for a double 1, 2. We got a 1, 2, 1, 2. We could be breaking out here pretty aggressively now in the next coming minutes. Get a significant large move to the upside. After we do form a pretty nice move up, the next movements are the ones that are going to be crucial. They're going to be crucial. As mentioned, if we are labeling this as your wave 3, it's unlikely that we get such an explosive move like your wave 3 here. I would expect a nice move up, but not the same length as this one. So we are looking for a nice move up, but not as aggressive as this one right over here. As we do have a double 1, 2 potential, you know, this wave can, you know, really squeeze out. I'm not interested in how far the wave 3 does get. What I'm interested is in the corrective scenarios. Once we do get the wave 3 finished at some point, I am interested in the range, in the little pullbacks, right? because that's how the price action moves, right? The price action, you know, finds this movement up, you get the explosive wave 3, and then you have the 4-5 scenario. As we do realize that another 4-5 is a possibility, your wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. Now what we're focusing here is this area. So it's all about remaining very patient to see how we develop this price action to the upside. As we do see on the lower time frames, unless we are forming a larger kind of corrective move, which is very possible, where you form a zigzag, you got a zigzag here, and then you zigzag. You know, I don't know if the price is going to really go sideways in this area. But just so you get an idea, we are looking at this kind of structure to develop right over here, but on the lower time frame, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, bang, 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 4, 5, 4, 5. Now we've got this possible movement, a nice little breakout, boom, boom, boom. The moment you start ranging, forming the local double tops, that is when the price could start correcting very aggressively. And that's when you're going to label this as the end of a movement to the upside, right? You would say that this is coming to the end stages. As the wave 3 has been the most explosive one, and you do realize that the next movement up is, you know, highly unlikely that it's not going to be as explosive, then what you're looking at here is for your wave 3 to finish at some point. Once you start correcting on your wave 3, you realize that the local double, triple tops is the trade that you want to be in. So it's interesting to see how we are developing this. You know, as we got this bounce, we got this movement to the downside. We did bounce significantly here, which obviously with a 3-wave structure, you do consider, okay, this is not bearish. You don't expect continuation down. When you get such a significant bounce here, you do realize that the highs are very, very likely going to be taken based on this bounce. Okay, so a long position here would have been pretty acceptable. Also a short position on this top here. This is a good shorting level. This was a good longing level. I got into both. The short trade was provided from Aiden in the Legends trading community. You know, realizing that maybe this could have been the end of this structure. And our target zone was the VWAP. First take profit was VWAP. Okay, just so you realize, you know, the different possibilities of realizing where the price could double top. Okay, just for education purposes, guys. You know, where can the price start double, triple topping when you have this movement, right? You got your first initial wave 1s and 2s, your big explosive wave 3, and then you're looking for the 4-5s, 4-5s. And VWAP was a take profit zone if you're entering the triple top here, right? If we're entering the short position, stop loss, VWAP is take profit 1, and it's only a movement of $1,000, right? It's a nice little scalp. Could we leave some open for possibly going to lower levels? Absolutely. But it was not, you know, the case was that we're back at entry zone. Nice little scalps, very technical. You can see the projected move here from this trading setup. Let's see if we can see this as the top. And the VWAP is your first take profit 1, right? VWAP is your first take profit 1. We hit the VWAP. It did look like it was going to break the VWAP, but we reclaimed the VWAP. And now eventually being in a long position after this movement up, realizing that you moved down in a 3-wave structure, being in a long scalp here makes sense, you know, all the way up to the highs. You're taking profit at the highs here. Just realizing that this movement down is not bearish. There we go. We're getting the movement up. So we're really going to map this situation as a possible wave 3. Okay. Very, very interesting. Very interesting breakout here. We are going to map this scenario as your possible wave 5. So what you need to do now is remain patient till you form a range. Get the price action getting exhausted, forming a little bit of a corrective structure, a little bit of a range formation. That's what I want to see to consider this the end of the movement, right? This the end of the movement for that pullback to sweep up these lows. This would be my first target zone, but we need to remain patient for that corrective move and look for the local double, triple tops, right? So we're getting that breakout. We are considering this as a wave 3, right? You got your 1, 2, 1, 2, possible wave 3. This could be a little bit punchy and maybe go to higher levels, right? Let's go right away through the comment section. Say hello to the beautiful community. See what's going on. Quick little scalp long position that needs to be, you need to be taking profits right now if you did get into a long position. If you got into a short position, this is intraday setups, level to level trading. Short here into the VWAP, you take profit. It's an intraday move. You realize the sign of strength as you do get this bounce, which would be rare for the price to continue down aggressively, right? Because you move down in a 3-wave structure and then you get the bounce. This bounce is too much after a 3-wave structure. So you know that this is not impulsive. So this retracement down to the golden pocket 7/8 Fibonacci is a good long position to take the highs. Now, I don't want a long right now. I don't want a short. I want to remain patient. And I am interested in the short eventually, considering the intraday setups. Okay, so, just so you get the idea. This is a short trade. This is a long trade. Now I'm interested in another short trade when we're considering an intraday scalp. I'm not going to jump into a long position here as we break out, but this could fake out. It could reverse. What I'm interested is the exhaustion. See the price action stopping at some point. And then the next range is going to be the interesting zone where I'm interested in taking the short position when we get exhausted. Right now, we just let the price break out, go through, right? Let it do what it needs to do. And this is very similar to this, right? This is basically looking at the lower time frame from this scenario, right? This is what we want to look for, right? And a local double, triple top here will be very, very interesting. But we need the price action stopping, of course. Let's go through the comment section. Let the price action develop. Form a little bit of a flag, a little bit of a range. As mentioned, the probabilities of forming a wave like this over here is unlikely, right? Heading all the way up to $90,000 is unlikely on this breakout. Of course, if you in a long position and you're not losing the highs, you might as well stay in the long position, right? To maximize also the rest of the profits. Anybody that's doing some intraday scalping, day trading, take profit has been hit, but as you're uptrending and you're breaking the highs, why not leave some of that position open, right? And as soon as the price rejects from the highs, you want to close the position. You realize that, this could be the end of a structure, right? Just a little bit of, point of view on different trading strategies. VWAP was reclaimed very, very nicely here. Let's go through the comment section and say hello. FET is on fire. Altcoins, I haven't checked altcoins, but apparently altcoins are also getting some of them are getting a nice reversal. Not sure what XRP is doing. Let's take a look at some altcoins. Why not? XRP is doing relatively good. Also moving up very nicely here throughout the last 24 hours. No, nothing too major, we have to say. But it went from $2.04 to $2.13 in the last 24 hours. Nice little pump. Let's go through the comment section. We just need to leave this wave to develop here. Let it go. Let it go. There will be a moment that this wave will stop. Right? There will be a moment that this wave will stop, form a little bit of a flaggy situation, right? A little bit of a consolidation. As it's just pumping at the moment, you just need to let it go. Let it break out. Let it break out till you actually stop. Form a little range. And then the short becomes interesting, right? Then the short becomes interesting. As the price is breaking and pumping, not interested in the short, right? Not interested in a short trade right now. You need to wait for the price to stop. We're just about to take out the lower highs here from the last week of March, which is looking very interesting. A swing failure pattern from these lower highs. It could be an option. Could be an option. It would be a little bit of an aggressive option, but it would make sense considering. Hang on a second. Let me just zoom out here and put a trend here. Yeah, considering the local price action and that you could be in a local fifth wave on the lower time frames like we did talk about, it would actually make sense to probably swing failure pattern, right? When we consider the lower time frame. Still quite far away, 88.8K. Considering this to be a fifth wave, it kind of would make sense for a swing failure pattern from those lower highs. Realizing that this should not break out very aggressively like this wave over here, right? It would be an uncommon thing. You would look at an expanding fifth wave, which is possible, but it's uncommon. I prefer to really look at the range, wait for the consolidation, and look for the intraday double top scenario to then get the reversal at least down to this higher low, right? So it's all about remaining a little bit patient for the next trading setup. Let's go through the comment section right away. And isn't it a bull flag? Well, you know, depending on how you look at it. This right over here, a bull flag. This right over here, this without a doubt was part of a wave 4, in my opinion. Big explosive move, and then this corrective move, either an ABC flat, or you finish your fifth wave in this area in a contracting move, and then you have a regular zigzag. Regular zigzag here, and now you just in your next wave, right? Your next wave, you need to let it develop, because from this possible wave 5, you're inside of the third wave, right, of your wave 5. You got 2 1-2s here, so you want the third wave, and then you want a kind of a grind, right? 4-5, 4-5, and then possibly look for the reversal. But you need to let it go. Let it go. It will stop at some point. It's not going to go to all-time high, so you just need to be patient to wait for it to stop. Let's go through the comment section. Say hello. Adrenaline is on. Short's gone a bit quiet now. Well, it depends on your time frame, but eventually, you know, I want to get into a short position. You know, I did get into a short position today based on Aiden setup. Down to the VWAP, little movement of just $1,000, give or take. You need to take profit. Rest of the position is protected. And you realize the bullish case as well. Got into a long position here as well. Realizing that this movement up is not bearish. It's not bearish, right? This is not a retracement to continue down. And the main reason why, right, it's just really analyzing the intraday waves here. It's realizing the intraday waves. If you move down in a 3-wave structure and you have this kind of retracement, you realize that this movement down is not bearish. It's not an impulse. So you move all the way up to this zone. There's no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have a nice move up. You realize that the highs here have a high chance to be taken with this movement up. So the retracement becomes very attractive to speculate in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or a 112, then 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. So, you know, I would be expecting some kind of price action to develop in this area, right? Very similar to this one. So you realize that, you know, this could be the end of the wave, but it needs to stop, right? It needs to stop. Shorting right here on the pump is a little bit suicidal, right? It's like, oh my goodness, you know, it's going to reverse at some point. I'm entering the short. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's not major resistance here, by the way, as we're getting this movement to the upside. So you want to see the price action, get exhausted, form some sideways momentum. Shorting now is suicidal, right? Where's your stop loss? Is it here? Here it's simple. Here you have the range formation, a double top. You got a stop loss, you got a trigger, you got a movement down. You get out, you protect position. Simple, right? So it's, you know, there's nothing more simple than waiting, sitting on your hands, right? Instead of trying to get into the volatility for a reversal. I'm not interested in a long position here eventually, because then this could happen, right? So no longs, but also no shorts, because what you would expect for the price action is to form a little bit of a kind of a range. If it were to move down extremely aggressive, then it will be interesting to say, okay, well, maybe, you know, this ended up the fifth wave here. And then what you're looking at is for the bounce. And that's what's going to be interesting to get into the leg down. But instead of trying to detect the top or the short, right, or the bottom for a long, you know, you just need to, you know, wait patiently. Unless you have major levels of confluence. I mean, the best one would be the lower highs here from the last week of March or the first week of April, right? 2nd of April. It could be a very interesting swing failure pattern zone, right? Claim that liquidity, because there is liquidity still above 88, 89K when we do consider the liquidity right over here. Still lots of liquidity. Okay, let's go through the comment section. Guys, remember, if you are interested in trading, you do have an insane bonus on weeks. It's a 20% deposit bonus, up to $2,000. If you deposit $10,000 and you wait 3 days, on your futures account, you need to transfer to your futures account. You're getting 20% deposit, guys. Take advantage of the deposit and also the 25% fee reduction, which you get with the second link, guys. By signing up with a second link, instantly 25% fee reduction on your trades, okay? With that insane bonus as well. Let's go through the comment section. Not much more here to talk about Bitcoin. The flat scenario is not looking too interesting right now, because we are really coming up to very high levels. For this to be a B wave inside of the flat, it is extending a little bit too much. Okay, it is extending for that idea. Let's take a look at the expansion from the top of your A wave. 1 second here, and this was considering this scenario right over here. The ABC flat. We already come into the 1.618 extension, which is a little bit too much for the B wave target. So we're just about to put this in the bin because it's too far. It's too far for a B wave. So let's go through the comment section right away. We are just about to hit some major lower highs, which is going to be very, very interesting how we come up to this area. Let's go through comment section. Say hello. Andy, you should look at FET coin. Oh my God. OMG, FET coin. Let's take a look at FET right away. What is FET doing? FET is having a fetch AI. This is reversing pretty nicely throughout the last few days. Major move to the upside. Grinding up. Altcoin season, guys. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin dominance. I'm still holding my altcoins, waiting for the big reversal, right, to happen at some point. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin dominance, guys. Is there hope still for an altcoin season? and our portfolio is going to be very, very happy. Well, the Bitcoin dominance is just continuing to the upside. So yeah, there's a Bitcoin dominance. It doesn't look like it wants to stop for the moment. So some altcoins are getting the bounce. So apparently we are getting some fresh liquidity into the crypto market. Yeah, we do have quite a lot of altcoins getting a bit of a bounce. Nothing too major, but Fetch AI is getting a significant move up. Let's go right away through the comment section. Andy, you're my live stream on my YouTube channel. Empire Trades, much love to you, my man. We are so back, says 𝗲, my man. Much love to 𝗲. If you don't know who 𝗲 is, you need to go and check him out, guys. Insane content every single day. Crypto by 𝗲. You need to go and check out this guy right away, guys. This is his YouTube channel. Okay, Matthew CBM. I will leave him in the pinned comment. And you know what? He's probably going to join the live stream. Why not? Why not join CBM? We can get him in on the live stream. Why not get him on the live stream, guys? What do you think? Shall we get Crypto by 𝗲 on the live stream? Absolute legend. Go and check him out, guys. I'll leave him here in the pinned comment so you can go subscribe to his channel and check him out, guys, because he does provide insane value every single day. Let's go through some altcoins. Do we have any good altcoins? BTC dominance going to 70 to 71%. Yeah, Bitcoin dominance is not stopping, guys. It is not stopping. Considering the 4-year cycle theory, this is where we usually retrace in March, April, but it's not stopping. This time is different. This time is different, and the Bitcoin dominance is just absolutely flying. So let's go right away. Continue through the comment section. 𝗕𝗶𝗴𝗽, please. What is 𝗕𝗶𝗴𝗽 doing? We are going to leave a little bit of analysis for my man CBM, because I'm going to let him in right now because he's got some very interesting thoughts from the crypto space, right? He's got some great news and great technicals, fundamentals that he wants to share. And I'm going to get him in the live right now, legends. I have him right over here, and he's going to take over on some things that he does want to share. How are you doing, my man?
Good, man. You good?
Yes, very good. Legends, I have him here. He had to come in and share his point of view on this market pump.
Crazy pump we're seeing. I ultimately think that this is a pretty solid rejection level. Can you guys hear me?
I think so, yeah. Let me double check here if we are good. All right, my man. We got this pump on Bitcoin. Is it legit? Are we going to break out? Do you have anything that you want to share with the absolute legends?
First of all, I mean, I'm a little bit worried about this pump, to be fair. I think it started with Michael Saylor. He actually bought some Bitcoin not too long ago. And it was kind of a scam pump over the course of the holiday weekend. And now it kind of just continued to the upside here. I don't think, like, I agree with your analysis that I don't see us just making an impulsive move into the 90K region. I genuinely don't see that as feasible right now. Although, who knows, maybe we can get surprised. But ultimately, over the course of this market, I've still been very much favoring shorts, as I discussed on the YouTube channel as well. Maybe I can pull up some things to show the audience.
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
So the first thing that I wanted to show is taking a look at my Bitcoin chart, which is a lot different than Andy's, you'll notice, because he does Elliot wave. I'm more of a very simple guy. I like looking at the moving averages. I like looking at those crucial support and resistance zones. And so on my chart here, which I've been talking about on the channel, basically this orange zone was one of the most important levels that I was looking at, because we consolidated there previously before putting in that all-time high. That's number one. Number two, I'm not sure if you guys can see, but there's this blue line over here which coincides with the 200-day moving average, a very important level for Bitcoin to break above. Usually when we break below it, we do struggle to break back above it and hold it as support. But if we can do that, that would be ultimately very bullish, and we can likely then go into the 90K region. And the other thing that I was looking at here is also it's not popping up, but essentially the bull market support band, which is, we're now at the 21-week EMA. And so this is a very important level as well, which we're now in the bull market support band. So what we want to do typically is flip that level as support, and then we can hopefully continue on higher. But how I've been trading this is, we broke out of this diagonal trend line. It was very clear that we wanted to go. And this was my first area to be taking profits on a Bitcoin long, while I have still globally been favoring shorts, if that makes sense. So that's what I was looking at in terms of Bitcoin. Now, in terms of narratives and what we need to pay attention to here, it's very much, first of all, the tariff war. We have that, but we also have Jerome Powell and Trump basically just like butting heads together. And that is the most important thing that I think we need to consider, because Trump keeps coming out and saying that Jerome Powell is too slow. He needs to cut rates. He needs to do this. But we know that the Fed is essentially a separate entity. And so they're not actually they're not going to get influenced by any kind of political agenda or political party. And so this is a very tricky situation, because Trump came out and said that, oh, if I want Jerome Powell gone, I'll have him gone. But we know that this has never happened before. And actually, Trump was the one that actually elected Jerome Powell in the first place. So it's interesting to see. He's saying he's way too slow at cutting rates. And you look at the data, Trueflation says that the inflation is much lower, so potentially we could get those rate cuts, but he's not budging. Jerome Powell is not budging. So while they're butting heads, we have the whole tariff war as well. And so China continues to threaten back to the US. So at first, when these tariffs came out, everyone was very much just freaking out, what's going on? And the market obviously dumped. But afterwards, we heard that a lot of countries, I think it was over 120 countries, were willing to negotiate with President Trump on these tariffs. Then China was the one that was causing issues. Now, I'm not saying this is a China problem. It's very much a US and China problem. And so China came out and said that they're going to retaliate over the US trade deals for all the countries that are, for example, undermining its own economic interests. So what that means is there was a little bit of a rumor that came out that in some of the deals that Trump was trying to make with other countries, basically he was trying to block the trade routes to China through other countries. And so this causes a huge issue. And then these two global powerhouses are essentially just battling it out. And so I think with a lot of this economic uncertainty and what we're seeing, it does honestly surprise me that we are seeing Bitcoin pump this much. Right now, we're getting a little bit rejected at the 200-day moving average. Obviously, I'm looking at the one-day chart. I know, Andy, sometimes you look at 5 minutes, 15-minute chart. But it is surprising because we're also seeing that stocks are not performing too well at this current period in time because of the market uncertainty. And so what we can see on this chart that I wanted to show you guys quickly is a death cross for stocks. Now, death crosses for crypto or Bitcoin in particular, they tend to recover relatively quickly. We dump into it and then afterwards we tend to pump. It's very, very common for Bitcoin. But when it comes to stocks, on this chart, if I zoom out, the last time that we had this death cross, we pumped above the moving averages. So that includes the 50-day, the 100-day, and the 200-day moving average. And then we ended up going much, much lower. And so this is what I'm ultimately concerned about. Because if we zoom in here, we got the death cross, and perhaps this was the pump going into it, and now we might just end up resorting lower. I don't think that it's likely that we just pump from here for stocks. And the reason why I'm talking about stocks is because, as we've seen recently, Bitcoin has been very correlated to stocks. Now, right now, you'll see on Twitter, everyone is screaming, guys, Bitcoin is decoupling. It's the gold of the 21st century. And like Andy and I are both believers in terms of Bitcoin being digital gold, but I still think that it can take a few decades for it to establish itself as such. And right now it's basically like a leveraged tech stock. So I'm a little bit concerned about Bitcoin, to be honest, because when we see stocks dumping like this, the last time this happened, I'll remind you that Bitcoin was holding up well, and then we ended up rolling over once again. So that is ultimately what I'm looking at. Still favoring shorts. If you were taking longs, I mean, in my opinion, in my not financial advice opinion, this is a decent area to be taking profits. And The other thing that we need to consider here is that it's not a choice to be like bearish or bullish. Like I see a lot of people sometimes complaining like, why are you so bearish in your videos and stuff like that? But ultimately it's what the global trade landscape looks like. And that's what makes me bearish. I want to be bullish on Bitcoin. And in fact, if we hold this level of support, we break above the 200-day moving average and we pump higher, I'll be more than happy because my spot position will thank me. Exactly. And I'm sure it's the same for a lot of you. And obviously, as Bitcoin pumps, we do see some relief across the altcoin market. Speaking of the altcoin market, this is a chart. I usually talk about Bitcoin dominance in my videos all the time. I've been talking about it just going higher and higher and higher. But this is Bitcoin dominance, including all of these stable coins. This one is very interesting because it essentially says that we're at 72%, meaning that Bitcoin and these stable coins account for 72% of the total crypto market cap, which is, it's insane. We're approaching this all-time high level right around 76%. Now, I'm not quite sure if we can make it up there, but it might just be a little bit more months of, say, underperformance from altcoins against Bitcoin, regardless of if Bitcoin goes up. The positive sign here is that, we've never, after this, like potentially we get rejected and then we get a massive dump for Bitcoin dominance, including stablecoins. And obviously that's going to be very bullish for alts. Bullish in terms of their performance against Bitcoin. Now we need to see whether that's bullish because Bitcoin is pumping and alts are just pumping more.
Yeah.
Or hopefully it's not that Bitcoin is dumping and alts are just holding stronger because they've already been annihilated. So that's
that was basically the top of 2021, right?
Yeah.
That's when we had the altcoin season coming in.
Yeah.
February, March, April.
Yeah. We just collapsed.
It's interesting as we kind of front run this cycle. We hit all-time high before the halving. Usually Bitcoin and altcoins do have that recovery to the end of the year, considering the 4-year cycle. I mean, this could be completely different because of the uncertainty that there is worldwide, but it would be very interesting to get those highs and create a kind of a wick to the upside. It might be the top for the BTC dominance on stable coins, right? And then we see that reversal on altcoins. Very interesting.
Yeah, that would be epic. That's what I'm hoping for. But ultimately, I think it's a matter of monetary policy, right? Like we've been talking about quantitative tightening, quantitative easing. Guys, until they turn on the money printer, alts will likely not collectively outperform Bitcoin. And the other reason why Bitcoin is performing so well is because, or performing so well against alts in particular, is because with this economic uncertainty, think of it. If you're an investor and you're coming in and you want exposure to an asset class, where would you put your money in crypto? If you're just joining now with all of the trade war tensions, with Jerome Powell and Trump butting heads talking about cutting rates, you would want to go to the safest haven in that asset class, which, as we know, is Bitcoin. So it does make sense that Bitcoin dominance just continues to increase until we see a pivot in terms of monetary policy. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And I guess one of the last things that I wanted to touch on here, which I thought was super interesting, over the last 20 years, gold is now outperforming the S&P 500. That is crazy. Like, you hear this saying, oh, just passively invest into the S&P 500, but it really shows how much uncertainty there is in the market currently. And but that being said, we also have our friend Michael Saylor continues to buy more Bitcoin, and he's just a Bitcoin maxi. I mean, this is just going to continue in my opinion, but I think he's only like 25-30% up from his average price at this point. He started buying much earlier, but he really went heavy right around all-time highs, which is a little bit concerning. Like, I'm not exactly sure what would happen if Bitcoin hit his average buy price or went even below it. But what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's also interesting considering the spot Bitcoin on exchanges. I did read today that it's at a 5-year low. Also, it's still decreasing. There's less Bitcoin on exchanges. Eventually, that can bring that massive supply shock, right? So, I mean, it's bullish on Bitcoin long term. That is inevitable, right? Yeah,
exactly.
I know you do have a few things more to share, Mattia. That would be very interesting because you did talk about this later before the stream, which I am sure that my audience are very interested in.
So, I mean, there was more stuff about gold that I wanted to touch on. This one in particular, look, we know gold is the safe haven. And so Trump came out and said, the golden rule of negotiating and success, he who has the gold makes the rules. So with that in mind, China's central bank increased its gold holdings by 5 tons in March, posting their 5th consecutive monthly purchase. They're holding over almost 2,300 tons of gold. And this is the highest they've ever held, and it reflects 6.5% of their total reserve assets. The reason why this is interesting is because we know that China and the US are kind of battling it out in this tariff war. And so it's whoever holds the most gold at this point. You know, gold has this reputation of being that safe haven. It's why we're seeing gold continuing to print new all-time highs. And
in 10 years, it might be Bitcoin.
Well, that's what I believe. And this is why I'm also saying, like, even when Bitcoin was at 74,000, 75,000, I was dollar cost averaging into my spot portfolio because it didn't matter if it was going to go to 60 or 80 or 100. I still think that over the long term, you're going to be in a relatively good position if you dollar cost average into Bitcoin outside of trading. So I personally recommend having maybe your trading portfolio and then your spot portfolio. And right now, personally, my spot portfolio is made up of essentially 90% Bitcoin. You know, I really took off some risk with the altcoins when I saw that, Bitcoin dominance is likely going to increase. And so regardless of the direction of Bitcoin, I want to be Bitcoin heavy, right?
I should have done the same with Chainlink because I have thousands of Chainlink and I should have taken some off the table.
But you're still well in profit because you accumulated at the lows, right?
About 2x, which is still okay.
Yeah.
But I'm worried about the people that have got into crypto in November, December of 2024.
Yeah.
With the hype of 2025, because there is a lot of crypto content out there that is like, this is it, guys, the 4-year cycle, even myself. But I realize where I don't need to buy when I'm looking at the charts. You know, when I'm looking at the charts and something's pumped already 300-400%, I'm like, I missed the boat here in accumulating. So I just don't accumulate. So yeah. Is there anything else that you want to share?
Let's see if we just quickly go through here. I mean, I wanted to talk about rate cuts, but you can see that Trump is basically he's just pissed off.
Yeah.
He's just pissed off. Like the European Central Bank, they cut rates for the 7th time. And he's like, guys, come on, why can't we cut rates as the US? So he's just waiting for that. Butting heads with Powell, very much the same story. I think that there's going to be continued market uncertainty. It's likely to be a very volatile week. And all I can say in terms of trading is you have to manage your positions accordingly, because 1 second you think, oh, I just got this brilliant entry on a long, and then it could just reverse immediately. And likewise with the shorts.
I mean, me, for like swing trading long term, I prefer buying the Bitcoin and holding for the long term. I really like intraday setups. As my viewers know, we try and look for the local movements when the price could instantly reverse in the next coming hours or instantly bounce. So really focus on the lower time frame, and I'm a bit off on the higher time frame. But when I do the technical analysis on a higher time frame, there is a possibility still of creating a new all-time high in 2025. I think this is very, very much a possibility still, and it would be extremely interesting to see the rate cuts at some point, right? Aggressive rate cuts, but for that to happen, it seems like something bad needs to happen in the market, which we've already seen a massive stock market crash. 20% for the stock market is a lot in a few weeks. We're not cutting rates. That's it looks like a kind of a bad sign. So there needs to be a much more aggressive dump on the stock market for the rate cuts to happen and money printing to go to really be aggressive, right? Which then you would estimate the massive reversal, right? And then maybe Bitcoin hitting all-time high, right?
Yeah, that's the same. I have the exact same perspective. And to be honest, unless we were to break the top of this previous range that we established basically in 2024, like down here, $73,000, as long as we hold above there, I still firmly believe that Bitcoin will be putting in a new all-time high this year. So some hopium for you. I know it's difficult to navigate this market, but ultimately those are just my thoughts. If we can just stay above that level, we're pretty much good to go, in my opinion. Yeah. And then obviously the rate cuts and the quantitative easing, if it comes, we'd be thankful for that for sure.
Absolutely, could not agree more. Mattia, thank you very much for joining. I'm sure my viewers really enjoyed that. Guys, make sure to check out the pinned comment because you have 𝗬𝗏𝗽𝗫 in the pinned comment, okay? Make sure to check him out. He's updating every single day, mainly higher time frame chart analysis, but also different news and fundamentals that is going on throughout the crypto space and also the economy, really, right?
Yeah, it's been very much an economy driven market right now. So
all right, bro.
Thanks
Thank you very much. Guys, make sure to go and check him out. 𝗬𝗏𝗽𝗫. Here he is, absolute legend. Let's dive in through the price of Bitcoin as we are getting a little bit of a rejection, right? I'm not sure if we did reach those lower highs that we do have here from April. Right over here, we do have that possible. Let's see if we do focus on the lower time frame. We did get a little pullback. We're really analyzing very, very carefully this movement to the upside, understanding that a movement up like this that happened early today is highly unlikely. So we're already getting a bit of a rejection. This does look pretty damn good. Local double, triple tops are looking very, very interesting at this point. We got that corrective move. It does look like that this could be a small little wave 4. This is your largest wave for the moment. So right now it does become very interesting to look for a few taps of the highs and then maybe a pullback down, right, to 86,700. These first higher lows, that would be the first initial target zone, and then maybe go to lower levels, right? So it becomes very interesting right now to see the price action getting exhausted, right? We got a first major correction, local double, triple tops. Now, of course, when we do consider the first 2 pumps right over here, and if this were to be your wave 3, you possibly can create a little bit of a triple top situation, okay? Unless you break out, right? You could break out eventually. So what we are interested in right now is in the local rejections. Local rejections can be looking very attractive, just under $89,000, right? We've got 88,500 and 88,700, which is the lower highs right over here, right? Which is where we have, you know, still some significant liquidity when we do take into consideration the liquidity heat map. You know, we're heading up there with this possible 5th wave. We can see that liquidity being absorbed right now. We can see we got a little bit more to the upside and then possibly get the corrective move, right? So we have stopped a little bit. This is where it's becoming very interesting, legends, okay? Very, very interesting for the intraday possible scalp short. And I know you might think we are going higher, we are moving up. It's just realizing that there is low probability to get an explosive move to the upside like this, right? Right over here. So at some point you are looking for that exhaustion. These lower highs look very interesting. You can manage risk like an absolute sniper in this area, guys, okay? You don't need to short and not have any stop losses and add to the position and none of that nonsense, right? That's how you lose money significantly, right? If you manage risk, small little stop losses, and then the big move eventually comes, right? The big move does come where you do make 3, 4, 5 to 1 risk to reward. Hope you enjoyed crypto. Bears are scared. Yes, the bears are scared. Bears are scared, right? Portfolio is doing great. I got into a couple of intraday little setups here. Short position, which is closed eventually right now with this pump. And a nice, interesting long position right over here, which have taken most of the profits, just a few $100s of a long position from this trading setup. Which made a lot of sense to claim those highs again based on this reaction. Now, it's going to be looking very interesting right now, guys, as the price does move up into this zone, right? We're probably looking for a few more highs. And if the price does get choppy in this region, right, heading to 89K, that is the moment where we can realize that you're forming something very similar to this, right? If we start chopping around in this range on the highs, not managing to successfully break, which is an option, okay? It is possible. You know, we can't say it's not possible. It is possible that we do actually extend here and break out and go to 89,200. But the probabilities are unlikely to get a major move up, right? Because the major move up already happened today, right? This is the big move. What comes next is where you are realizing the move, you know, can be more shallow than this wave right over here. So it does make sense. We're also near to those lower highs where we have some liquidity still in this area. It's going to be very, very interesting on how we break up from there, right? You know, are we going to absolutely rocket another $2,000, or are we going to get the choppiness? If we get the choppiness, we realize what could be going on when we form the choppiness, right? When we get such a significant move up and we chop, we realize about the correction. And when we consider the higher time frame, you know, maybe this is already coming to an end, right? Close to an end. Of course, we are continuing pumping, so we can go to higher levels. 𝗕𝗶𝗴𝗫 here. My channel is Pinned Legends. Thanks for having me, Andy. Yeah, go and check him out, guys. It's in the pinned comment. Okay, I did leave his channel on the pinned comment. Very smart guy, great information, talking about the, you know, fundamentals as well. Not only a TA geek like myself, which is, you know, really focusing on the lower time frames and looking for some intraday setups, right? This guy is really talking about, you know, news, fundamentals, also higher time frame TA. He's in the pinned comment, guys. Make sure to share some love. Go and follow him up if you do like him. Make sure to subscribe right away. Right, let's go right away, and we're going to finish it off. Not much to talk about. I'll be providing a video update tomorrow morning analyzing the local scenarios, guys, okay? We'll be talking about a little bit of higher time frame perspective. As mentioned on the lower time frame, you know, I do see this getting exhausted around about the 89K zone, right? Stay cautious. Anybody that wants to be bullish all the way up here, you do realize that you could be ending a wave. So stay very, very cautious. Thank you very much for joining today, guys. And I'll be updating you tomorrow morning.